If you want the latest and top stories, I want you to go to SaraACarter.com. That's SaraACarter.com. You can also check out the podcast page. Folks, it's an awesome website. All the latest stories. I want you to go to the podcast page, though, and I want you to download The Sara Carter Show. You can get that on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. You don't want to miss one episode of The Sara Carter Show. We have, by the way, so many amazing guests coming up. We've got everybody from the AG of Missouri all the way to, Congressman Mike Garcia and what's going to be happening in California, especially with those marijuana grows. And I mean, people coming in, talking about the border. We've got the best guests here at the show. I feel so blessed. And today we have another great guest, Robert Agostinelli. He is with the National Review Institute. I brought him here because I want him to share his story about going back to his Catholic prep school, giving a speech. He's a donor. He's very wealthy. And basically, when he gave a speech on how America comes first, the fundamental teachings of the Catholic Church, and really went back to the roots of the Aquinas Institute and what it means to be an American and to be a Catholic, he was just canceled. He was canceled by a few far-left students who got all irate and some faculty members. And he's going to tell us a story about what happened to him and why every single one of us has to be on guard and has to stand up and not be afraid to speak up and speak out and fight for freedom. The basic fundamentals, guys, that this country was built on. And that's just one battle in the cancel culture, which is literally going insane. Just look at what happened to Joe Rogan. Look at what happened to him. I'll also bring you the latest insanity from the left, who now won't even help to fight the scourge of fentanyl. How about that? How about Democrats just saying no to a very important bill that should pass because our children and our people are dying? But they said no, and I'll explain why. I also want to share with you a little bit. I was in New York all last week, and I was at the funeral, for fallen officers. And I had time to talk to some of the New York Police Department, some of the folks that were down there, also police officers from Connecticut, LA County Sheriff's Department. There were people and officers and law enforcement officials from all over the country. And by the way, from all over the world. I actually saw some officers that were actually from the UAE, the United Arab Emirates. And there were people from other parts of the world, from Great Britain. So it was very, very heartwarming to not just to the families, but to New Yorkers and to anybody who was there. It was really emotional to see how many people were there, how many people were showing the support for law enforcement. So all is not lost, even though sometimes I feel like New York and Chicago and every place else is lost. It's all is not lost. I'm also going to talk just very quickly to you because I think this is one of the most important stories that happened this weekend, but it was about Russia and China and how Russia and China basically opened the curtain, lifted the blinds, unveiled their pact against the United States and the West. Russia and China are aligning themselves against us, against the West, and boy, you better be worried. You better be worried. Please follow and subscribe. Get all the links at SaraACarter.com. Remember, get all the links. Again, SaraACarter.com. Don't forget the A or you'll end up someplace else. And she's a great artist, but she's not me. And while you are there at SaraACarter.com, sign up for our email list, folks, so you do not get shadow banned. I really, really want you to sign up for the email list. We're able to send you the top stories of the week. We're going to keep you posted on everything that's happening on our side, and it's just very important. We don't want to lose communication with you. We see what's happening with everybody else. It's only a matter of time. Folks, now is a critical time, critical to be vigilant in defense of our freedom. There is no better way to do so than by joining the Association of Mature American Citizens, and you do not need to be over 50 to join. Why? Because AMAC welcomes just everyone who cares about the future of this great republic. You can join and stand together against that progressive agenda that we're seeing implemented by the Biden administration. There is strength in numbers. Folks, there is strength in numbers. And together we can bring one clear, resounding voice to Washington, D.C. How many times do I tell everyone It's only together that we're actually going to make a difference. And AMAC is giving us the platform to do that. By joining AMAC, you're taking the first steps to saving the America you love. AMAC offers an alternative to just about every benefit that other group offers, but without the liberal agenda. I stand with AMAC, and I hope that you will too. I encourage you to join today at amac.us/Carter. That's amac.us/Carter. The benefits of membership are great, but the cause is even greater. Join today at amac.us/Carter. So let's go first. Let me take you to Russia and China, because that's where that was the last thing I teased, for the show, and why this is such an important issue. I mean, we are really at the cusp of a changing global geopolitical system. And I feel watching our nation so divided for so many years, seeing what happened with, I would say, with our elite educational class, along with those that were in charge of weaponizing the FBI, the CIA, the director of intelligence. We saw that all of what happened to President Trump. Remember, with the dodgy dossier, the dossier that said President Trump was in the pocket of the Russians. I want you guys to think about this. Think about what happened and how so many people were played in our country. They were literally played. And I actually believe played by the Russians. I believe the Russians laughed all the way to their intelligence hub at the FSB, somewhere inside. It's a former, remember the KGB? It's now the FSB. So somewhere inside the Kremlin, they were like laughing their asses off when they used the unwitting fools, Hillary Rodham Clinton and her gang of merry men, John Brennan and James Comey and Clapper, and all of these guys were played directly into the hands of Russia. And they willingly did it because they were so desperate to destroy President Trump that even when Christopher Steele, the British spy, foreign spy who was involved in our elections, a foreign spy with a fake dossier, even when he went out fishing, trying to catch some Russians, trying to get some information on Trump, he was basically telling the Russians and the FSB, and by the way, and the Chinese intelligence apparatus, hey, guess what? Our nation is so divided that Hillary Rodham Clinton is willing to utilize all of the bureaucracy that the American people once trusted and loved to basically target a duly elected president of these United States. And they knew it even before he was elected because they were already going after him, right? So they already set in motion, all of our enemies, basically this great divide in America. And we've got all of these, a narcissistic, self-loving, liberal, leftist, Marxists that think they know what's best for everyone. And everyone's got to wear a mask. And Governor Youngkin, you're in Alexandria. You're in my grocery store and you should be wearing a mask. Don't you get the picture? Yeah, we got the picture. The picture is that the leftist Marxists in this country have done a phenomenal job, and I believe with the assistance of the Russians and, Marxist Chinese ideology and everybody else in our school systems to brainwash unwitting fools and people to believe that they have to be a part of the Borg. They can no longer have a mind of their own. They're sheeple. And they are all going to, they're going to let you know that if you're not wearing a mask, it doesn't matter that the mask doesn't work. It doesn't matter that the CDC said the mask really isn't going to help you. These cloth masks, you got to have an N95. It doesn't really matter that we know that children are not spreading COVID like wildfire. We know they are not. We know that as a scientific fact, yet they still want you to vax your kids. They still want you to do this. Because why? Because it's part of the Borg. And I'm going to tell you why this is important. Because when China unveiled this weekend a pact against America and the West, when Moscow and Beijing decided to do that, they just shot that message across the bow. Because now is a perfect time. Because we have a feeble president. We have very leftist, ideological, bureaucratic leaders within the Biden administration that are more than happy to watch this nation just be ripped apart at the seams, to change this nation fundamentally, which is why they don't want us standing up, which is why they're, these leftists are so intent on keeping our kids in masks no matter what, but not for them. Not for them. We saw what, was happening in California with Governor Newsom, at, a sporting event, no mask on, while all of the kids in California schools are forced to wear these sweaty, disgusting, dirty masks. Most of them are all the time across their face. They can't even communicate facially with each other anymore. They're like living behind the veil. So now the Chinese and Russians are saying, look, while your country is so messed up, eating each other alive, we got midterm elections coming up, and while everybody is so messed up, we're just going to let you know that we are together on this and that you're not going to do anything, America, in Ukraine, even though now Biden's trying, send some troops over there to Poland, just hoping maybe for what? What, a couple of hundred troops are going to stop the Russians from going into Ukraine now? This would have never happened under Trump. They would have never made that move. But they did under Biden, and Biden wants this. By the way, the Biden administration wants this because Biden doesn't even know what he wants. The Biden administration wants this because they are definitely, with that whole wag the dog moment over there. They have messed up so much nationally, and this is such an upside down America right now, but they do not want the Republicans to win in the midterms. They do not want the Republicans to win in 2024. But I don't know how Republicans won't, right? And now, well, a black swan event, right? Something comes out of nowhere, a war. Moscow and Beijing working together, to ensure that their treaty of friendship is strong enough to fight the West. And you and I, if we don't keep our eyes wide open, this could be very dangerous. This is like the Cold War on steroids. And they don't need us anymore. That's what they're saying. Look, we good riddance, America. We'll deal with you when we have to. But right now we see a power shift and we're going to take it. Trust me on this, folks. Trust me. I'm 100%. I feel it. I've been talking to folks. I feel I was seeing this come across the pike, and I'm really, really concerned about it. And you can thank, by the way, people like John Brennan at the CIA and, James Clapper and Comey and all of those folks for lowering their guard, not spending any time doing what they needed to be doing. And instead of being played by Russia, which what they were played by Russia. That's what Russia did. As soon as Russia found out Christopher Steele was digging up dirt for Hillary Clinton, they did everything they could to play him. You can thank Russia and everybody for what they've done to our country. Yeah, because of the help of the former administration and this administration right now. I also want to tell you a little bit about what I have a little bit of hope. I actually have a lot of hope because I believe Americans are waking up. And we did it, in Virginia with the election of Governor Youngkin and everything that happened in Loudoun County. And I'll talk a little bit about that with our guest as well, who's coming up shortly. But also, I was in New York City for the last week, and I was able to just see the awesome swell of support for our law enforcement officers. There's never been anything like that. When you think of, the NYPD, you think about, the men and women in blue and what they have done. And you think about like all the officers in our nation that have lost their lives, who have given everything, whose families have been left alone, right? Whose families have been left alone to fend for themselves. And I know the officers will get together. In fact, I talked to some of the New York police officers and I said, well, what's going to happen to Rivera's family? What is going to happen to Mora's family? Will you guys be there? Because if you remember, when they lost their life, it was gut wrenching. They go in for a domestic disturbance, which is usually the most dangerous for any officer. I'll tell you that. But I don't think Wilbert, Mora or Jason Rivera expected to lose their lives that day, right? You go in to do your job. But the officers that I talked to, they were saying they were frustrated. They were frustrated with the Biden administration. They were open about it. I wish it could have gotten on Sean's show that night, but they were so angry. They felt that they had been betrayed. The people in New York City, I was so surprised. People in New York wanted to come up to me. I thought, oh, great. You know what? Here it comes. Here it comes. I'm on Fox News. I'm going to get some serious back talk from some New Yorkers. And actually, one of the gals walked up to me. She said, I'm so glad you're Sarah Carter, right? I am so glad you're here. You can't imagine how scared I am every time I walk from my apartment to my work. I am terrified. I was never this scared before. She said the Democrats have destroyed the city. And she's praying that people in New York will have the common sense to vote these people out. You know? And I'm telling you, I spoke to people. It didn't matter where they were from, the color of their skin, or their religion. I mean, I even interviewed a lady that was from Sri Lanka who was amazing. And her name was Dihara. I remember only because it was like Sara. You know, her name was Dihara. She was wonderful. She was an American citizen from Sri Lanka. And she was somebody else who said she was just terrified that this wasn't the New York City that she knew. This isn't the New York City that she loved. It's pretty scary. But I guess there's hope. When we see Americans waking up, when we see the swell of support, our officers coming together, standing side by side. By the way, some of the officers weren't as hopeful as I was. They were like, look, we're the police. We're standing side by side. We're fighting for each other together. But guess what? Those Democrats out there and a lot of the leftists in this country, they just want to defund us. They don't want to help us. They don't want to be a part of making this nation great. They want to be a part of tearing this nation apart. And you know what? I absolutely believe that some of them do. And why am I saying this? Because I couldn't believe, and I'm going to talk to you just quickly about this. You could read it at sarahacarter.com. Go to sarahacarter.com. Look up the story. Outrageous. House Democrats block fentanyl trafficking bill. We have had more Americans die of fentanyl, by the way, a poison. I'm going to call it what it is. This isn't overdoses. This isn't people that are just addicted to drugs. These are people that take a pill that think it's a Percocet. These are people that take a pill that think it's an oxycodone, right? These are people that take a pill that think it's an Adderall. And what they are taking is pure poison. Over 2 milligrams of fentanyl in each pill. By the way, the DEA, after all the pills that they picked up last year, more than 90,000 people OD'd, majority on this fentanyl, right? It's like murder, right? They found 40% of the pills on the street that they picked up off the streets were lethal, had more than 2 milligrams of fentanyl in each pill. But this health crisis has found its way to America. In the story we talk about here on Wednesday, House Democrats actually blocked. It was the bill, it's called House Resolution 6184, to halt all lethal trafficking of fentanyl. To halt all lethal trafficking of fentanyl. They were going to make it a crime, a murder. If you're selling fentanyl on the street, well, yeah, you should be charged with murder. If they find out that you have fentanyl in your distributor, you should be charged with murder. I don't even know why we're, in China, right, now for the games, for the Winter Olympics. I refused. I don't even know. I don't even know what part it's on. All I see is what's on Twitter when I scroll through it. Because the Chinese are sending all the precursor chemicals to Mexico. Those precursor chemicals are getting used by the Mexican drug cartels. They're mixing up the fentanyl there. They're sending it into America. And guess what they're doing? They're not only sending it into America, they're selling it here. And then the Chinese are laundering the money for the Mexican drug cartels. Absolute fact. Yes, they are. Don't let anyone tell you that they're not. They are. And the severity of this crisis was demonstrated by U.S. Customs and Border Protection. You guys remember when CBP announced they had seized a record-breaking 11,201 pounds of fentanyl in 2021? And in just the first 3 months of the fiscal year of 2022, they've already seized more than 2,700 pounds of fentanyl. For those of you who live in Democrat states, you need to call your lawmakers and you need to tell them, what the hell? You need to say, why did you not pass this bill? Because this bill would have permanently placed fentanyl-related substances into Schedule 1 of the Controlled Substances Act. It would have made it illegal to sell the molecularly altered fentanyl substance manufactured by criminals instead of its normal classification as a Schedule 2 under the DEA. So it would have been the highest charge. You would have seen fentanyl decrease. Instead, right now, the Mexican drug cartels importing this from China are trafficking fentanyl because guess what? It's not limited to a growing season. They can sell it for a lot more money. Who cares if people die? We're always going to find more people to get pills to. And by the way, it's poison. And they are killing our children and killing our people. I'm sorry to leave you with that note. I just want you to think about it. I want you to think about what's going on in our country. I want to play this clip. I want to play a quick clip before I get to our guest. Let's go. Let's play. This is the House Democrats actually blocking the Republican effort to crack down on the fentanyl trafficking.
We recently learned from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention that between May 2020 and April 2021, more than 100,000 overdose deaths occurred in the United States, an increase of nearly 30% over the previous year. These record numbers are due in large part to the increasing presence of fentanyl and fentanyl analogs, which are approximately 100 times more potent than morphine and 50 times more potent than heroin. Because fentanyl has a proven medical use, it is considered a Schedule II narcotic. But illicit derivations of fentanyl, also called fentanyl analogs or fentanyl-related substances, do not tend to demonstrate medical value. Right now, they are considered Schedule I substances, but only because of a temporary scheduling order which expires on February 18th of this year. My bill aims to curb overdose deaths by permanently scheduling fentanyl analogs as Schedule I substances. This will strengthen law enforcement's ability to prosecute fentanyl traffickers and act as a deterrent.
We need this. We need to save our children. Wouldn't you do anything to save your child? Like, I mean, I literally have said this before. If you knew right now that a child predator was hanging outside your child's school, ready to attack your child, would you not leave everything you have, just drop everything you have and just get there as fast as you could to save your child's life? Just to save your child's life. That's how serious this is. A mother in Ohio lost her 12-year-old child. Think about it. Think about it. They came in contact with fentanyl. They're not a drug addict. They're a kid. Children have lost their parents. I can't even begin to tell you how many kids are in the foster care system or how many people are brain damaged. I call this irregular warfare. I believe that the Chinese are doing this on purpose. I believe that they are poisoning our country from within. There's no other way to explain it. Trump tried to stop the Chinese. The Chinese promised they would stop importing fentanyl in its pure form. Sure, they did. Then they just sent the precursors to Mexico just to make sure that the Mexican drug cartels had enough to mix. And of course, we have an addiction issue. There's a lot of issues here, but let's try to protect our children. Let's do the best thing we know how. Let's do what we were meant to do. Let's just call a spade a spade. Let's not give up, and let's fight this. Call your lawmakers. I'm telling you, I'm not going to stop pushing this on the show. I'm going to bring people on the show to talk about it, and we're going to go after these cartels. We're going to go after the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, and we're going to expose all these people, these Democrats, these losers who don't give a rat's ass about our children or this country. We're going to expose them here on this show. So give me a minute before we get started with Robert. I can't wait to get him on the show. Robert Agostinelli, very beautiful name. Agostinelli will be on the show with us in a moment. But first, I want to tell you a little bit about something that I love. It's all American made. It's My Pillow. Yes, I love My Pillow, and you guys know Mike Lindell is a real American hero and patriot. There's nothing better than slipping into bed with soft, comfortable sheets. I have all the colors of all the Giza sheets on all of our beds in our house, and I love them. I mean, I literally love them, and I buy them for my friends, and I get them for my family. And after the first night's sleep on a Giza Dream Sheet, you will never want to sleep on anything else. Trust me on this. For a limited time, you will receive, listen to this, 60% off any Giza Dream Sheets with a price as low as $39.99. I mean, I'm going on to buy them for my daughter and for my son and for everybody I know, right? You know, in my family that's in college that needs sheets, right? This is the best offer yet. You get 60% off, only $39.99. It's the world's best cotton. It's grown only in a region between the Sahara Desert and the Mediterranean Sea and the Nile River. Its long staple cotton makes it ultra soft and super breathable. Save 60% now with the Giza Dream Sheets flash sale. Go go to mypillow.com, click on the radio listener square, and use the promo code Carter at checkout, or call 1-800-685-7221 to get the Giza Dream Sheets for as low as $39.99. You'll also find the deep discounts on all MyPillow products, including the MyPillow mattress topper, MyPillow towel sets, and so much more. These will be gone in a flash, so head to mypillow.com, promo code Carter, or call 1-800-685-7221. Sleep better with mypillow.com. I am so grateful to have Robert Agostinelli here. You're an international financier, you're an investor, you're the former chairman of the National Review Institute. You're still on the NRI board, and you're here to talk about something that's affecting every single, I would say every single American. And that is the cancel culture, the woke culture. And for those of us, that have been speaking the truth, who have felt like the heavy hand of censorship or ostracism from, these radical leftists, I think that having you here with us today is important because you've actually felt it from your old alma mater, a Catholic school. And this has been happening to friends of mine as well, alumni of higher education or preparatory Catholic schools. All of a sudden, we're seeing the same kind of shifting change in the Catholic system. So first of all, thank you so much, Robert, for being here with me today.
Sara, it's a real pleasure to be with you, and you have been doing God's work, you and your crew, getting the truth out. And this is very much a tale of truth versus a lie. And as Stalin said, if you say the lie often enough and repeat it often enough, you forcibly tell people it's the truth. And this is where we are today. It's a lie from head to toe, and we have to draw the line here.
Let's talk about that because you wrote this fantastic article, and I think it's really important. It's called An Alumnus Story, Going Home and Finding Woke. I love that headline because that's what I feel like. I feel like we're finding woke everywhere around us. In the article, you say their mistake, this is the school's mistake. They allowed us to speak the truth about our times, about our country and its future, and about our disdain for those sentiments by which America is held in low esteem. This does not go over well with the professional education class. I've always said that. That's something I've talked about relentlessly, like this elitist class, even in a Catholic institution whose classrooms were once filled with the direct words of Fulton Sheen espousing ancient truths, are now rejected as fairy tales and outdated mores. Talk a little bit about that, what you said, how this all transpired.
Well, the school's been after me for some time to come up there seeking, a substantial donation. I'm arguably one of the more successful students over time there, alumni. And I went up there to see family, and I called them and said, look, I'm happy to come. I'm happy to visit, and I'm happy to speak to the students. And they were blinded by the coin, as I put it, to have me speak. But I had a little bit of a tremor, nowhere near as much as I found out, that things weren't all right in Mudville. And so I was fortunate to be mentored by Bishop Fulton J. Sheen when I was a student, altar boy, etc. And so I went back to my notes that I'd had for many years, and I uncovered a speech he had given. Well, it was a speech, but it was a talk he gave me in 1967. It turned out it was actually from 1947 in the wake of the Iron Curtain. Concept was on hell. And it was talking about, he was speaking about the moral universe of Dante and how man is in the center of that universe and has a choice, yay or nay. And I went through that and I said to myself, this is the message for this generation. It's even more valid today than it was in 47 or 67. So I outlined what he said. I indicated to the kids that this came from that genre that I'd learned. And I used that concept to describe to them that they had this choice and that it was the battle of their generation, and they should be on alert for it because they were in danger of not being able to access the American dream, as I had and those alongside me had. And I said they had a right to their tried Catholic faith, they had a right to that American dream, and they had the duty for self-interest to say no to the false deities.
Why would the school be opposed to this speech? You would think it would fall right in line with Catholic doctrine, right? My daughter goes to Catholic school. I mean, this is like, you know, I was fortunate though that the Catholic school she was in all of these years when we were living in Alexandria, now we moved to Texas. But the Catholic school that she was in was very much in line with, I believe, what the older doctrine was, you know, that was established in the church. But we're seeing a change now. We're seeing a sea change, literally, right? We're seeing it from Georgetown University to the churches to the priests to the teachings. Explain what that is for the non-Catholics out there, because I think this is not just a message for Catholics, it's a message for everyone.
Well, I think, look, the devil, and this is diabolical. People don't, oh, it's extreme to say it. You got to call a spade a spade. This is diabolical. And the work of the devil starts out as sly. The beast enters slyly. And the beast has entered these schools and into the bone marrow of our universities and now to our secondary schools, colleges, and all the way down, in this case, to the sixth grade. The sixth grade. I mean, come on, the sixth grade. And what they're doing, the diabolical nature is that they want to erase two things: academic freedom, and they want to erase God. As one student reported, one of the administrators, a guy named Mancini, went into the school when he was taking over for another teacher, and he said to all the students, "You're God, you're God, you're God." I mean, as we both know, in the direct assault on the faith, this is what a top administrator of the school said to the students. And I verbatim quote from two kids that were in that room. And this sly entry they become so confident with their entry into the mainstream that as the devil, the beast becomes emboldened. And their reaction to me was the beast being emboldened. And
what was it that they were doing at Aquinas that really struck you as not a part of the original mission statement of the school?
Well, I didn't know exactly what they were doing. I gave that speech. Mine was a positive, uplifting message of optimism and to be on alert for these false deities. And by the way, I named them by illustration. Marxist Black Lives Matter. There's no controversy over that fact by their own founders. You know, I also cited critical race theory. I cited gender confusion, one or two others, and that of course is when a couple, 2-3 students walked out. It was actually 3, and there were well over 100 kids there. And what I found when the school denounced what I said is not reflective of the administration, faculty, and board's beliefs, values, and teachings, was that it resulted in a reaction from all these parents and students who had given me a reaction on the ground after my speech is, quote, the most important thing they've had happen at Aquinas in their time there, was I found this groundswell of explosion of stories and need to break away from tyranny. They've erased academic freedom at Aquinas. They're not teaching kids how to think. They're teaching them what to think, and that's imposed on them with a rule of tyranny and a hard hand. And if you don't agree with it and you don't accept it, then you get retribution. Then the beast comes for you. And that's what the kids said, and the parents. And that's why I was the lightning rod. I said the children and parents rebelled, and the alumni were docilely put to sleep by this, because they use papier-mâché Catholic teachings, probably in Virginia the same. They speak about the goodness of St. Thomas Aquinas. They're doing nothing of St. Thomas Aquinas there. Whether it be in English Latin or any other pig Latin you want to choose, they are not teaching the fundamental mores of the school. But they say they are. They essentially have become secular in the worst definition of the term, while pretending to remain a Catholic institution. And that's what I did when I went there. I triggered, quote, these people to react, thankfully, because then it allowed the parents it emboldened the parents and the students to rebel. And now the alumni are cutting off funding.
Wow. Wow. Because you stood up. This is what's important. This is what I want people to think about when I hope that all of you are listening to Robert understand this. It's happening across the country, not just in the Catholic school system. We saw the triggering of parents in Loudoun County, Virginia, which was, I think, fundamental to the election of Governor Youngkin in Virginia. Seeing a Republican come back into office and making, such bold statements as like, we are not going to do this in our school systems anymore. We are not going to allow, critical race theory to divide our students anymore. We're not going to make those students whose parents are in the military and who feel proud of their country to feel ashamed when they come to school because their teacher doesn't want to put up an American flag in the classroom. Instead, put up different flags, whether that's a gay pride flag or some other kind of flag, but not the American flag. We're really going to just speak openly about what's happening in our country. And I really feel, Robert, that there's this this divide in our country that is happening. And it's almost as if while we were asleep at the wheel, and I've talked about this before, while all of us were just thinking, and, Matt Schlapp said this to me too on the last podcast, parents thought, oh, well, our kids are going to college and colleges are usually liberal. And so they'll eventually grow up and become Republicans. And now what we're seeing is, that's not really happening. We have like an indoctrination happening from very young age, from our small children to our middle school children. You talked about sixth grade to, our high school children. And then they end up in college. And just like you said, we've seen BLM. BLM's been very open. It used to be on their website about the fact that they don't believe in the nuclear family. They believe in Marxism. So do you think it spilled over, Robert? It went from like just even the public schools and infiltrated in the private Catholic schools and the Christian schools. Do you think that's what we're seeing here?
I think what we're seeing is a combination of two things. My read on it is a combination of a dedicated movement to undermine the basic republic of which we stand, one nation under God. This is a mission to forevermore change this nation. And the docility of the silent majority is the temporal advantage these people have. And the implicit cowardice of many, and I understand, I call it cowardice as pejorative, because some is cowardice and some is fear, because they instill fear. I said to the kids, remember Kristallnacht. When Kristallnacht happened and the Nazis, SS troopers marched in to the ghetto and took out several Jewish people that night, there was always another person on the corner who said, well, I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer, it won't happen to me. And I pointed to them and I said, get smart. It could be you next. And you need to stand up for your rights. I said to them, there are two things in every community in this country when I was growing up. A cross, and if you want a Star of David underneath it or beside it, and a flag. And you and we have a right to maintain that. And that's what's going on. They want to erase this for its entirety. That's what every socialist doctrine does. It's never worked. It's always failed. And if you look at the most extreme leftist communities in this country, pick any major city, Rochester's included, by the way, that's what's happened. They are desecrating what happened when I was growing up, when I got on my bike every morning, as I've said before, I looked at the horizon. I knew there was nothing that could stop me if I worked hard. That was the American dream, faith and flag. And they want to kill that. That's what's going on in spades.
So why do you think places like Aquinas, like the Aquinas Institute, are constantly catering to the loud and those tiny minority voices instead of like reflecting on what the majority of the people think? And do you have a relationship with them now?
Well, relationship. I never really had I had a relationship with the former president who I think this started under his watch. I don't believe that he believed in it. I think it started by trying to manage the beast. But I think I've been told by parents that they estimate a third of the faculty is explicitly supportive of these approaches to life. And that it looks to me like a vast majority of the administration, although many members of the administration came up to me quietly and said, thank you, we need this. This has got to stop. It's got to change. And people need to feel confident they're going to be defended in this battle, because these people are a menace. They'll cut people's grades. They'll undermine a response to this. And I have to say, the board of directors of this school and the foundation trustees, the process of which is totally opaque and is more interested in maintaining money flows behind their Catholic facade, have let this fester, and I believe many of them support it.
Well, I got to
it's a
tell
very
you,
good statement.
it isn't surprising. I mean, we've seen cancel culture. We've seen what's been happening across the board. It's running rampant. We've seen what recently happening, with Joe Rogan is a big, huge example of how the left is trying to just basically silence anyone who doesn't agree with their ideology or this Marxist ideology. Let me ask you this last question. How does this stop? What do we do to stop this? What do you think happens?
Yeah, I think because we've allowed it, you said it yourself earlier, we rationalize, colleges are liberal. Where did that come from? It's true, but it started with the same attitude many years ago. When the Soviets understood, when the hard left understood, they couldn't beat us straight up. They did a smart thing. They infiltrated our pillars of our nation. Education was one of the first, and they started with the universities, and they're now going down the line. You need to draw the line, and it's guerrilla warfare at this stage. To eradicate this is going to take a multifaceted approach, and it's going to take people being brave. As I said to the students, we're going to have to stand up, and I think people like us are going to have to help them, and it comes with risk because you're immediately called a racist, you're immediately denounced for being retro. Somebody said I was retrograde. Oh, you're from the 1950s. You're from a past generation. They're trying to redefine, as I called it, ancient truths. Truth is truth. The word is the word, and it doesn't vary according to their interpretation of modernity. And we're going to have to stand together. What you're doing is a part of the battle. If I showed you the letters, and I'm happy to show you the letters and messages I've received from all over the nation, in England as well, supporting this response and willing to come together, you'd be gratified. And I would also say, finally, back to your earlier point, the students had an effusive reaction to the talk, and many of them said, "Thank you." And we're now going to put a Young America's Foundation post inside the school. We're going to demand that people like you come to school and speak their mind. I don't know if they'll accept it, but it's that kind of daily battle, and we're all going to be a part of it if we're going to save this country.
Wow, thank you so much. That's so it's nice to know that we are all out there fighting the good fight and doing what we can to save our nation. I've always said that it's based on the principles of this great nation, our founding fathers, and I truly, truly appreciate the fact that you're out there on the front line, not afraid to take on. I mean, it's got to be really tough. Not afraid to speak out and take on, even your most fundamental institutions where a lot of our values were established, and we're watching them change. Thank you, Robert. I hope you come back on the show. Thank you so much for being a part of Sarah Carter Show.
Thank you, Sarah. God bless.
I've talked about it before. Dr. Mike Fulgence, he's America's gold expert, and he's the 2021 Numismatic Dealer of the Year. And he's predicting silver prices will continue to rise as inflation and industrial use follow their upward trends. Guys, this is really important because with inflation, you want something that's tangible, right? That's why his company, Universal Coin and Bullion, is now offering you a 2022 genuine 1-ounce silver American Eagle coin at just $28 with free shipping direct to you. If buying American-made products is important to you, these pure silver coins, backed by the United States Mint, will hit the mark. I'm telling you, silver is up over 400% in the past 30 years, so you're not going to go wrong, and it's poised to go even higher. Everyone should own a percentage of precious metals. So call Universal Coin and Bullion today at 1-800-UCB-GOLD. Be sure to mention me by name when you call, right? You're going to get that discount. That's 1-800-UCB-GOLD to get a tangible asset that you can hold in your hand. Call Universal Coin and Bullion at 1-800-UCB-GOLD, and their expert team of representatives will help you order a $28 American Silver Eagle coin today. 1-800-UCB-GOLD. Don't forget to tell them Sarah sent you. All right, guys, I have never been more upset, I think, in a long time than I have when I was scrolling through Twitter. And as I told you at the top of the show, I have not been watching the Olympics, the Winter Olympics. I used to love the Winter Olympics. When my mom was alive, my mom and I would sit and we'd watch the Winter Olympics together and, with the hot cocoa and watching, the great ice skaters and, skiers. And I love it. I love the idea of competing on a global stage. But what I do not love, what I do not like, what I cannot believe is happening is that our government, knowing what is happening in China, is allowing our Olympians, and it even allowed it, even the Olympic Committee to allow it to occur in China, where there is genocide, where the Wuhan virus came from, where the Chinese are working to target the West with Russia. I mean, we could go on and on and on and on about what's going on here. And they allowed the Olympics to occur there. But there was nothing that made me more irate than ESPN commentator J.A. Adonde, right? J.A. Adonde. He compares Chinese genocide to new state laws on voting in America. And he's wrong about those two. Listen to this.
Who are we to criticize China's human rights records when we have ongoing attacks by the agents of the state against unarmed citizens, and we've got assaults on the voting rights of our people of color in various states in this country? So sports, I think it is possible, and it's necessary more than ever to just shut everything out if you are to enjoy the actual games themselves.
Wow, could you believe that? Like, what country is he living in? You know, I really would like him to just move to China. If we are that horrible, just, hang out there or stay there. And by the way, I would love to hear him make those same comments about America while he's at a Uyghur camp getting sterilized. Just saying. Like, I mean, I'm sure a lot of the Uyghurs that are there are wondering who this J.A. Undonde is, and why he is. Yeah, maybe he's being threatened by the Chinese. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe a CCP intelligence officer is just like standing right in front of him saying, you will say this about, America. Or maybe he took some cash from the CCP. Who knows? I doubt it. I mean, I'm just saying allegedly. We don't want to throw any issues out there that might not be true. But I want you to think about this. If I was on television talking about how amazing China is and how bad we are, I would assume that the FBI would be listening. Oh, no, wait. The FBI is probably only going after parents in Loudoun County still. They're really busy there with like all of the parents at the school board meetings who really want to fight for their children and stand up against leftist, Marxist, communists, kind of like the CCP. So what is going on here, guys? What kind of upside down world do we live in? You would think, though, by J.A. Adonde making these statements on ESPN, this commentator, that it would raise some red flags. It would raise some red flags if I was with the FBI, China desk. I would be like, I'm gonna listen to some of his phone calls. I wonder what's going on in China there. I bet you the Chinese gave him a huge celebration after he got off TV. I bet you they were like high-fiving him all the way back to the locker rooms where all of our American athletes are like on lockdown and can't use like their phones freely, or they can't do anything freely. They're just they can't even use regular currency because the Chinese are making them use digital currency. Yeah, all of that great stuff that comes when you go to China. It's like, give up your rights. Welcome. Let me give J.A. Adonde a little lesson here. China is a communist country. It controls all of its citizens. It has put people away, political prisoners that we have never heard from again. It released and knowingly let the Wuhan virus, COVID-19 virus, spread across the globe. They are amoral. They have forced their women, and not only the Uyghurs, they forced sterilization on them, but they have also forced abortions, and they had the one-child policy. This is a serious issue, not only for us, but for the poor Chinese people that have to live under this communist regime while you all on television smile happily and try to act like nothing's going on over here when we all know what's going on. So, okay, that's my word. I'm sticking to it. Remember, here at the Sara Carter Show, we are taking back the story, folks. We love this country. I know we do. That's why you and I together are going to make a difference. That's the only way I know how to do it. I mean, we do it together. We do it by not being afraid, by standing up, by speaking out, by holding people accountable. by holding people accountable. And remember, we are not perfect. That's right. We're not perfect, J.A. Adonde, but we're the only nation on earth that is a true beacon of light for people from all over the world. I do not see people flocking from here, from anywhere else in the world, running to China, crossing deserts, sacrificing their life in boats to go live in China. I see everyone coming here to do it. People from China, people from all over the world. Why? Because we are the most amazing, beautiful nation on earth. Let's keep it that way. God bless you, and God bless our great nation.
Hi, it's Dana Lash, host of The Dana Show. Every day, I'm here to keep you up to speed on the most important stories and info that you need to know in your very busy life. And if you're always on the go and you want to stay connected, just download our daily podcast and take it with you. It's a great way to get up to speed on what you need to know and what legacy media may not be telling you. Visit danaradio.com and click on the podcast link or subscribe at iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your favorite podcasts.
Today, I'm joined by Rebecca Weber, the CEO of the Association for Mature American Citizens. It's also known as AMAC. The most important question, I think, for so many people out there is, how much does AMAC membership cost? What does it cost the regular consumer?
Yeah, so for $16 a year, okay, or less, you can join at a 1, 3, or 5-year membership. You get a couple of things. You get the benefits. You get a great subscription to a magazine. So for $16, you're going to receive a bi-monthly magazine. But your voice is now going to be heard in Washington. We take our marching orders from you. If you stand for faith, family, freedom, if you believe in the Constitution, if you believe in the greatness of America, if you believe in individual freedoms and everything you just said, Sara, $16 is not a lot of money to join the 2.3 million members that are really fighting hard to ensure that America remains the best country in the world.
Rebecca, thanks so much for being with me today. I'm honored to have you and AMAC as a sponsor for the Sara Carter Show. For more information, folks, visit amac.us/Carter.